root seed of what's happening in Nigeria is what I've boringly been banging on about for 30 odd years, in which this report contains detailed analysis of why this is that if you've got a job and if you've got some stature, some dignity, you've got a family, you don't pick up a gun. If the only way of earning any money whatsoever is, I think I saw in one of your reports, these kids in Niger who were being paid 1,000 shillings to take a gun and being directed towards a target. And the response is, what else is there for us to do? And they don't mean just occupy their time. How can they make a living? How can they achieve status? How can they get dignity? And if the only dignity is in adhering to some preposterous logic that Al-Qaeda gives them, then people will do that in desperation. It's not an excuse. It is repulsive what's happening, but it is an explanation. In the near term, there has to be a more equitable distribution of the wealth of Nigeria, which is vast. There is this growing, inchoate sense of anger. It's present every night on your show. Like, you know, of people discontented
so you have this tension
with what's happening.
Between growth, excitement, possibility, and completely dispossessed people.
2/3 of Africa are the rural poor. We certainly need to upgrade agriculture.
But you would see Boko Haram as exactly...
It's an excrescence of poverty. It's a symptom of poverty, as famine is, as hunger is, as corruption is, as war is, as lack of education and lack of health is.
But imagine 200, maybe 300, we don't really know, girls stolen, taken away in any country, particularly had they been European. Every front page would have been dominated by it. No. This story only took off properly in the last few days.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was aware of it from the moment it happened. I mean, it is disgraceful, but it is exactly what they say they are. I think the name means something, you know, against Western education or something. But it is ripe ground for these people. I mean, they seem to be more organised now than 18 months ago, when they just seemed to be a bunch of headbangers. Now they seem to be directed. And it's very Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda chose the World Trade Center as a symbol to be attacked. They chose the American embassy as a symbol to be attacked. They seem to choose their targets for deliberate propagandistic purposes, and it works.
Well, it probably was the World Economic Summit that you were about to attend and are no longer attending. But, I mean, that was a focus, and to be doing things at the time of the focus makes it worldwide.
I mean, the problem for us is that if you go to the WEF in Abuja, all anyone will want to talk about, as you want to talk about, is Boko Haram. We want to talk about the continent as a whole and its advances and its regressions, you know.
So that's why you're doing it in London?
Yeah, because we'll get some juice out of doing it here. If you were covering Abuja, you'd be talking to some, you know, Davos type heads and, you know, stuff like that. We'd get no traction at all. So that's why we're here. But you are going to see this happening more often, I think. I'm not sure how it's stopped, but it is being funded. And it is being funded by very rich nations. And, you know, in the long term, as somebody just asked me, the long term is the end of poverty. And that is clearly in our interest. You just have to look at the countries we trade with now. It is clearly in our interest. And to be honest with you, to this government's great credit, and the last one and the one before that, Britain has done exactly what it said. And contrary to what the critics said, it didn't affect the growth of our economy whatsoever. Indeed, it benefited us. For example, British investment in Africa, get this, 50 times that of Germany and 4 times that of the United States. So we create vast amounts of work here and there, and we derive huge amounts of income from our investments in that continent. That, honestly, John, for 30 years, is what I've been saying, is what will happen. The continent is growing really rapidly. It'll go through dreadful growing pains. You're looking at one of them, and it is outrageous to the nth. Pray the girls are found. Pray they're okay. What I imagine is, if they'd been killed, we wouldn't know about it. I'd imagine that some village has been taken over and been told, you take care of them. If it suits them, they'll kill them without compunction. But they want to create outrage, and the problem is that some 5% of those people they reach with this outrage, with the propaganda, will probably say, yeah, I'm in. I'd have one of those guns.
Bob Geldof, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thanks, John.